Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Alma Live. We are so excited that you are here with us. And we're continuing this conversation on emotional resilience. I'm so excited to have today's guest, Susanne Billander. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Well pronounced.
Thank you. I'm trying over here. Now, Susanne, you're a solopreneur. You're a multidimensional guide. And I would love for you to, in your own words, share with our audience who you are and what you do in the world.
Yeah. So instead of saying just elevator pitch, I really need to take people on a journey, because I was pretty young when I discovered that there is a biological system, organ, brain, psyche, that is, as I said, it's logical. And I just found it, and it was me when I was 23. And I started to teach people immediately, doctors, nurses, of course, not so many of them, but mostly alternative therapists. And when I was getting certified to train this, I was one in the group, and we came to presentation skills. And I had been running a lot of presentation skills trainings for companies. So it was in my pitch, but what I thought was interesting was that it was a room filled with professional therapists. But the thought of standing up and actually speak about what they were doing was terrifying. They were fine one-to-one in a locked room. And so I got to run an emotional release session for 40 people. And it was so much intense trauma coming up of, it's a good reason why lots of therapists are afraid to be fully expressed. So by teaching that system and by being in contact with a lot of alternative therapists, it also became natural then to open up that, to bring them out in the world. And I loved business. I can't say that I did my best from the beginning, but that's what I've been living on, and beyond, I'm actually thriving on it. So then I also had to kind of support, or I invited people to be supported to find their unique expression of business, because there's no one fit. The same with the system that I'm teaching with healing. With a few questions, you can find the underlying cause behind a physical symptom. But how to activate healing is unique for each and everybody. What's health for me, or a healthy action for me, could be dis-ease for somebody else. So I've always looked from that individual point of view. What is your unique expression? So the same with business. Then it was years that I was just kind of doing the business side. And then I took through people the feminine expression. Again, it's a big theme in the world. Activate your feminine energy. But everybody does that in a unique way. It doesn't look or feel the same. And so along my journey, I've always done different things for the purpose of activating people's unique expression. So in the highest expression, then I look at every code and help people to turn it on. It's like that code in that area affects the whole. And that's, for me, in the end, the true energy behind health. Because when we act in alignment with our full expression and the truth flow, we are filled with vital energy. So that's why I have to use a few words to describe what I do, because it is really every area of our life needs to be filled with our unique expression in order to really be healthy, having vital flow flowing through us.
I love that. Yes, that vitality, that's health, right? In every sense of the word. So, right now, especially, we are looking at and we're seeing how people respond differently. As you said, everyone is going to have a different response to different stressors, different changes, known, unknown, all of that. So how would you define emotional resilience?
I would say it's emotional intelligence, first of all, because something I've seen over the 20 years I've been working with people is that they want to release a negative emotion instead of seeing it as, this is a true feedback. This is a true emotional response for doing something that isn't aligned with us. So instead of changing to change something and realize I can only release this emotion by doing something that is true for me. So I see that I've met people that have spent years in therapy trying to feel good about doing the wrong thing. And on one level, then there is a lot of stubbornness, right? To willingness to feel bad.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect that is really important for me to, when I meet people, is like, is the negative emotion actually a sign of they are doing something that isn't true for them? And then the next one is, for me, there are no bad emotions. There are just stuck emotions or feedback, because sometimes it can be a stuck moment in time. We got frozen, it was a shock, we isolated it. And those moments, of course, create a dis-ease on some level. We may not see it in our body immediately, but there is a frozen moment in time where there is a stuck energy. And the only way I see that we have that, if we didn't meet it in the first place, is that we meet situations that trigger those stuff. And when we have the mindset that we can receive everything, I call it being the alchemist that receives everything or turns every receiving into gold. So if we have a reaction and we get really curious, to stay, even if it's 1 second, with exactly how it vibrates. I normally guide people into really just feel how it's moving, the vibration, like dance. Just have one focus, getting to the vibration of that stuck energy for 1 second. And then it starts to transform, right? So then behind every stuck emotion, there is a high expression. And we want to feel. We are human beings. We cannot not feel. If we try to, we're really not alive. So for me, it's about intelligence. It's about seeing it for what it is. And I used to have a position where I was more dissociated from my emotions, staying on the top of things. And life and awakening has taken me into the juiciness of it. And seeing it, like, to really experience the humanness, to be here fully, we cannot not feel. When we feel fully, it just changes vibration.
I can completely identify with what you just said, and I felt that there were many moments in your chapter in Empire Moms, which, for our listeners, came out last week. There were many moments when I felt like I could relate to you, because that was a similar experience for me. Felt like my entire life I flew like up here, and I didn't really dip into a lot of, in the thick of it or the underbelly. And same thing, 2 years ago when I lost my daughter, then I had this opportunity to really feel what is here and what are the treasures that are here. So when you said life experiences, do you want to share, one story or one, personal experience that brought you to this place and allowed you to come into this new space?
Yeah, of course, it's many, but I'm going to take it more to because right now we're dealing a lot with Pluto energies, and to really become authority in our own life. And I had a meeting with the authority when I was 26, and I applied everything I stand for, and it turned out really good. So when I was 26, my son was 3 months. A journalist called me and said, "Hey, Susanne, you may get prison up to 1 year because they accuse you of quackery." So here in Sweden, there is a law, the quackery law, which says it's only doctors that can treat cancer and diabetes. When I had learned about that just a few months back, and I was like, "Oh, really? Okay." So that means like I can't use looking into the underlying cause of cancer. So I didn't do my website back then. I had a webmaster. So I made a few changes and sent it in to him right the week before I gave birth. So I never picked up and checked in. Did they actually do what they were going to do? So I said, "No, that's not on my website. It's impossible, right?" So I went and had a look at my website, and so they made all the changes except from the thing about cancer. So I was like, wow, life really wanted me to meet this situation. So I went inside myself, and immediately I had a past life experience. Standing in front of a big crowd cheering, seeing me, just before I was going to be hanged. And I was leaving that life with a rebel. It's like, you will see, I'll be back. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know I had that rebel because I grew up very obedient. Like I kind of did whatever people put in front of me with a lot of enthusiasm as well. And it wasn't until I stopped school that the veil to the spiritual dimension opened. And suddenly I became very obedient to my unique expression and natural laws and universal principles, and found myself. But in that moment, I was like, wow, I had a rebel inside of me. Okay, I took full responsibility, and I kind of smiled and I laughed and I healed that situation. And when I had to go to the police station to be investigated, I went there with such ownership. So I felt it was like a movie. I felt like the police person was me as well. The whole system. Like I was really the whole creator of the whole experience for me to see this in a rebel. So I went in, and he said, "Hey, just like in the movies, everything you say can be used against you. Would you like a lawyer?" And I said, "No, I'm not here to defend myself. I'm just here to express myself." And we got into really good rapport, and he made sure that all the words that he scribbled down on his piece of paper was words that I stood for, which was different because I had been in TV and radio and everything else, and journalists did not do that. It's like that was another experience. They did not honor my expression. They messed it up to something else. So anyway, a few weeks later, called me back and said, "Hey, you can choose between paying a penalty or going to trial." So I asked, "What's the penalty?" And he said, $200. And I smiled. It's like, I was busy with other things. I was in Norway running a training. And I said, "Okay, I take the penalty." Yes. And I was thinking to myself, that was like, that was a normal price to therapy session in order for me to see the rebel. And I had one thought. It's like, if I really own this, could I be really hold guilty? But I was like, oh, never mind. Not a problem. So I went again to the police station to sign. Susanne Billander, I'm guilty. And 1 week later, I had another letter coming back home, which I thought was, where shall I pay? What's the information, banking information? And I had to read that letter 3 times because it was in the law lingua. And it basically said they had found another paragraph, and we're talking about like 1 year later, that made me not guilty whatsoever. And then I was standing there just laughing, because I was like, oh my God, it's really magic when you own something completely and fully and not feeling victim into the whole system. Because today I read on Facebook, I follow the corona reactions coming out, and some people scream for vaccine, some people scream against vaccine, and it's kind of a war. And I know there is no outside. I've used that since day one. When I open the eyes that our perception is our projection, there's nobody out there. I don't see anybody out there. Like, it's, even if it feels like there is somebody who triggers and does something, it's like, I really know there is nobody out there. So when I meet things and when I guide my clients, I really take out, like, there is nobody else than your own perception of it. And in that one, there must have been something that really showed me to the fullest, because in the name of the law, come on, a sign that they even care to find a paragraph after they got somebody, got somebody to admit that they're guilty. I thought that was like a really strong example.
So true. Wow. And I love that when you say there's really no one else out there. It's all right here. So I know that you work with people in a variety of ways, but how can people learn more about working with you? How do you work with clients?
In English, I do work only in Swedish too, but in English, I do offer the meta health system, like I teach people how to quickly find the underlying cause behind any physical disease, which is something that I use, as a mother too. If my children, which it doesn't happen very often, have a physical symptom, I ask a few questions, get them to realize the relationship with a life event and what the body is showing, and just be present so they find the real expression again. So if I can do it with a child, right, that's what I'm passionate about teaching, not just health practitioners. Not many people, it's like, I wish every doctor knew about that, but they can't, right? You don't go to the doctor to find that support, even though my best geek buddy is a doctor, right? But he can't do that fully in a medical clinic. So what I love about this is, again, empowerment. Knowledge is power. Anything that guides us in the right direction, which is always inwards, and more specifically as well, like, because the unconscious mind, we have so many different traumas. We can have like 50,000 if we take all the ancestral traumas. So it can be a bit messy to just go in and say, hey, I know there's something in here that is relating to my physical disease. But if we then can narrow it down to a very specific question that brings up all that information, of course, then that's a good first start to heal something. And then my love is also to meet people one-to-one, to really look into their unique expression. I work with a lot of people who have worked a lot with themselves. So it's not always the easy thing to find cause and effect. So I have learned that people don't always know what their problem is. So I work from a different side. Like, I know their unique expression code by code. And when I activate that, then everything that is not free to be that comes up. So I don't have to start the session with, hey, what do you perceive is your problem? The physical body is specific, right? The physical symptom, it speaks for itself. But sometimes it's just there is something, but it's not always the easiest thing to say. What is really my problem? So that's my other big thing that I do right now. I do it over a longer period of time to activate the whole expression.
I love that. You can do really deep work when you're with them one-on-one. I want to pop up your website. If you want to find out more about Susanne, be sure to check out her website. Plus, she's on social media as well. And I wanted to leave everyone with this quote that you had given me. I loved it. For every vibration you connect with as gold, the richer you feel. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah. What I've noticed in the spiritual world is that there's still a lot of judgment between light and dark, good and bad vibrations. And we are part of it all. So I want it all. Like, I want to be part of it all. So every vibration, when we meet it, will of course turn it into the higher vibration. But I think some people, for example, oh, this person is throwing shit at me. But again, when we receive that fully, that's what we do when we want plants to grow. We want to throw some nutrition. So anything can really be turned into gold when it gets our full presence. Mm-hmm. When it's not, like, we have to stay really curious. Really curious.
True. Really
because
curious.
Sometimes it's very easy to be right that what other people are doing is wrong, right? Like, it's very easy to stay in that position, but it doesn't do us any good.
It is so true. Even I've noticed this with myself, with everything that's going on in the world. If there's this particular thing that's sort of, it's grating on me, if I'll stay with it and I'll dance around it and I'll look at it. I had this moment recently and I was like, wow, this just opened up so much more. Okay, I got it. Like you said, you find the gold in it, you find the gift in it, you find that thing that's actually giving you that super rich nutrition that, but you can't get it if it's just, like you said, if it's me against them and this is right and that's wrong. And
also, I also use that one. I think what's missing in that sentence is really receiving. For every vibration we're receiving, because a lot of people are not free to receive, and it's nicer to give. It's like there's a judgment between receiving and giving too, and that was a huge one for me. Huge one to activate receiving in my life was such a, sometimes you just sit with an energy and it's like, I have no experience what this will even, like, I can't even comprehend what's behind. What does it mean? What does receiving mean? Will it mean that I'm suddenly not Miss Independent? And will it mean, like, I couldn't even perceive it? But then when we open this box, right, then we see anything we're willing to receive. If we don't perceive we get the gold, because sometimes we don't, right? We don't get gold all the time. But if we receive anything we get, because we know we're able to turn it into gold, then we always get richer and richer. And yes, it does transfer to our money relationship too, because we are freer to be our unique expression in the world, and that is our true value.
100%.
There's only one of you and me. Yes. So the more we stay faithful and committed to being that expression, it comes back. Like, we do feel supported in our physical life.
I love that. Thank you so much for all that you contributed, Susanne. Thank you for sharing your story in Empire Moms. It's available now on Amazon. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Is there any final words that you'd like to leave with our audience?
No, I think that was...
We're complete.
I feel complete. Thank you for having me, and thank you for what you are doing. I think it's an awesome idea that is creating a platform for many people to share themselves without committing to writing a whole book. And doing that, again, contrast, that's my last word. That book, when I read it, because I read it this weekend after it was launched, I love being part of contrast, because then you see there's so many different ways to kind of embody the same feeling, which is empowerment, abundance, feeling free to be who we are, doing it our own way, and just feeling like, that's so that was so beautiful to read in contrast and be in contrast with everybody else.
I agree. I've enjoyed reading all the stories myself. I'm about halfway through, so I want to remind everyone to pick up your free pass to networking influencers and my free guide on how to jumpstart your book. The links are in the description. Until next time, stay well. Thank you, Susanne.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.